For over 40 years, SCM
has been the voice of our town,
bringing us together through local programming,
education,
and live broadcasts.
SEM isn't just about television.
It's about empowering our community,
ensuring our voices are heard during government meetings,
and celebrating milestones
like our high school graduations.
But today, SEM faces a challenge.
Our funding structure is based on television subscriptions.
And it's no secret, people have been cutting the cord.
With a shift to internet-only subscriptions,
SEM receives less revenue,
even though all our programming is freely available online.
We need your support.
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 Your donation can make a difference.
It will ensure that SCM remains open,
continues to educate our youth,
and keeps our community informed.
Thanks to SCM, I've been honing my creative skills, helping me work towards my college degree.
SCM is crucial for keeping our community connected.
SCM isn't just here to broadcast local events. They're actually preserving Simsbury's history.
Join us.
Join us in preserving Simsbury's voice.
Simsbury's voice.
Together we can ensure that SCM continues to thrive
for generations to come.
Visit our website
or scan the QR code on your screen to make your donation.
Every contribution
counts.
Thank you for supporting Simsbury Community Media,
where your town,
your schools,
and your government
come together.
Approval of the minutes for December 3rd. Do we have any changes, corrections, alterations? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Okay. New applications for receipt, the determinations?
We don't have any yet.
None. Okay. So that moves us on to the application CC number 2432 for the town of Simsbury, owner, engineering department, applicant for the wetland permit to dredge Town Forest Pond located at 86 Town Forest Road, assessors map B-13, lot 406, lot 010, Simsbury, Connecticut 06070. This is a continuation.
So this
of our
is
public
a
hearing, so I need a
continuation.
motion to open it.
You don't, since you continued it, it's open.
That's already good.
It's already open.
So we're gonna, good
evening.
Yeah.
For the record, Adam Kessler, the engineering department. So since our last meeting, we reached out to DEEP. They concurred with our findings. There are no documented species in this area based on the NDDB map. So in terms of impact to any potential hibernating species, we don't know since nothing's documented out there. However, out of an abundance of caution, we could just wait until the summer, which I believe we're okay with, to do the dredging work. Essentially wait till after May 1st. We would, of course, approach this from a weather dependent. You know, if we have another dry summer, we'll have to do the work.
I'm glad you're going to be putting that off.
So I think Brittany had included a condition after working with Adam, that no activity until after May 1st.
So is there any further, nothing, I think that added to our, that was the biggest question we had at the last thing. Do you have any questions? Other questions, Adam? All right, then I would open up for the public. Does anyone have any comments and any statements they'd like to make about the town forest dredging? Hearing that, I suppose it would now be, do you have any more questions from the commissioners? Close public hearing?
We would give a motion to close the public hearing.
A motion, we close the public hearing.
Sorry.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any dissenters? No. All right. So it is closed. So that leads us to our determination.
Brittany has provided a set of draft motions in the affirmative, as we typically do as staff. On the screen as well as in front of your desk, or in front of your station. It's kind of standard motion for approval, finding, and conditions.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll move that we approve the application CC 2432, Simsbury, Engineering Department, for wetlands permit to dredge Town Forest Pond Road, located at 86 Town Forest Road. Based on the following findings, short-term impacts for the proposed development will be controlled by installation and maintenance of erosion sediment controls, and that
The feasible prudent alternative considered that no action alternative was not recommended as the purpose of the project is to enhance the function of the pond by removal of the accumulated sediments in the deepening portions of the pond. And subject to the following conditions listed in the staff report.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Right. Thank you, Adam, and thank you for deferring until the creatures wake up. They will be in there, even not that picture.
Right, that border was really close to that.
Yeah, no, they're in there. There's something in there. All right. So we're moving on to now application CC number 2430-36 of Nagy Realty Management, applicant owner for a wetland permit to remove an approximately 30-foot by 40-foot building addition and replace with a new approximately 50-foot by 40-foot building addition, a portion of which is located in the upland review area at 30 Walcott Road, Specialty Saw Inc., Assessors Map I-03, Block 439, Lot 009A, Simsbury.
Madam Chair, I just note that at your December 3rd meeting, it's not significant, so it's not a public hearing.
Good evening, Chair and members of the Commission. My name is Guy Hesketh. I'm a licensed professional engineer with F.A. Hesketh and Associates, and our corporate offices are located in East Granby, Connecticut. And we assisted the applicant in preparation of the plans that you have before you. You're familiar with the site. It's on Wolcott Road. This is the specialty saw as you come around, turn up a hot meadow. As soon as you head towards the airport, you take the bend. It's on the right there. There's two buildings there we call the front building, which is the one that you really see when you're driving by, and then the rear building, which is the subject of this application. So the rear building was built, oh gosh, probably in the 70s, Dave, somewhere like that, or even before that, the main portion of that. And after the cinder block portion, which is the rear portion, and then there was another addition put on front, which is a little bit narrower than the main addition. And what they're going to do is tear down the old addition that's on the front, which is about a 30 by 40 foot building addition. And then they're going to reconstruct it and square the building out, make it rectangular, so that the new addition will be 50 by 40. And then it'll be built in essentially the same footprint that the existing addition is. It's going to be just 10 feet wider on either side. Slab on grade building, and it will be the same height as the rear portion of that building. And it will be used as part of the manufacturing operations that they have at the facility. It is located within the upland review area, just the rear corner of the existing building, and our activities are going to be further away from the actual well itself. We do have proposed for erosion sedimentation controls. You can see on the excerpt from the grading plan here is to put silt fence erosion control around the outer perimeter. It's relatively flat around the building. It does have a slight grade that goes from the northeast toward the southwest. You can see the wetlands that are located on the southwest corner, almost on a 45-degree angle from north. That's the floodplain of the former oxbows of the Farmington River, so to speak. So it's relatively flat, and it drops off a little bit in there, and the wetlands are coincidental with that embankment of the former floodplain there. So we'll have sedimentation, erosion control, silt fence erosion control around the outside of that. It's a very sandy soil, like it is in that part of town, so it's not a very runoff tends to infiltrate into the ground relatively easily. The majority of the site is a combination of pavement and then a hard pack gravel surface. Most of the parking areas are below the pack gravel, so that does allow water to run off the parking areas and infiltrate into the ground. The roof runoff from here will be collected with roof leaders, and then it'll be directed to discharge along the western side of the buildings, away from the paved area that's to the right of that, just so that water can naturally infiltrate into the ground. That's essentially the application. You can see the upland review area, the 100-foot upland review area shown in the dashed line. So we do have activities within your upland review area, but they are quite a ways away from itself. It's my opinion that the sedimentation erosion control measures that are proposed are adequate to protect that. It's going to be very minimal impact. Just the excavation to be down at frost depth. There's no basement in there. And then there'll be a slab on grade, and then the building construction take place. There are existing electric conduits that run out from the front building, and those are going to be utilized for the power that comes from the existing building. So the disturbance will be minimal to what's there today. Yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. If you have any questions, I can certainly answer them.
About how long do you think the whole construction project will take?
Usually the excavation and the foundation work is going to take place within probably 6 weeks, start and finish, and then the construction of the building would take place probably the whole construction is probably going to last 4 months to get the building scanned, and then interior work will probably take a little longer than that, depending on.
But the place where you think the most impact would be, would be that 6 weeks you're putting in?
Yeah, 6 weeks, I'd say it's fair number, 6 to 8 weeks. And the way we would do that is to do the work on there, and then we'll have to be access to the western side of the building where they put the skin on the building and roofing and things like that. But once that's done, it'll be buttoned up, topsoil seeded, and then restored to lawn area. And then the pavement will have to be patched. I've got a limit of saw cut on there. So you're probably looking at probably 6 weeks for.
And when do you think you're going to do this?
Right now they're evaluating. They've got plans out and getting bids, and they're doing their numbers and all that stuff. It would likely take place in late spring. Would be construction start. Would be my guess, Dave. Is that what you're thinking? Probably late spring. So it would be buttoned up certainly by summertime. Completion of the activity.
I know you said the frost walls and the slab. Is there any material that will be excavated and stored on site, or will it be redistributed on site?
Yeah, well, the soils that are there are relatively sandy soils. So what they'll do is they'll excavate out for the construction of the foundation and footing, and it won't be that much material left when they're done. There will be some waste material for the saw cutting of the pavement. That'll be hauled off site. The sandy material, some of that will be used to grade along the edge of the building. We are proposing to raise the grade on the edge of the building a couple of tenths of a foot. And the reason we're doing that is because, as you're probably aware, the FEMA flood insurance rate maps are being modified. They've been published in a public comment or draft period. I think the public comment period has ended. I think they're going to be adopted sometime in 2025. We're not sure. It does in this area raise the elevation of the base flood elevation almost 2 feet. This building now is about 0.3 of a foot above the new flood elevation. To get a flood certificate, you have to measure the adjacent grade of the building and certify that that's above the 100-year base flood elevation. So we do have to raise. You'll see some spot grades on the corner of that building. We've got to raise it a couple of tenths of a foot, about this much, just so when our survey instruments go in, when they do adopt that, they can apply for a certificate, a flood certificate, not have to pay flood insurance on the building. So,
And then that'll all be reseeded. That'll be all reseeded.
oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. It'll be all topsoil and seeded as soon as the disturbance is done and stabilized. And then we won't remove the silt fence until it's all completely stabilized.
Commissioners have any other questions?
Did we talk about invasive removals for the base?
I think we started bringing that last night. If you have, we're always looking to see if property owners can remove the invasive species on their property.
Bittersweet, that kind of thing.
Bittersweet, burning bush, Japanese barberry, especially as you go towards the wetlands, if you could remove them while you're doing the work, that'd be great. There's some easy ways now, just cutting and painting some of them with herbicide and minimize.
Yeah, and I would have to defer to Dave on that one. Is that okay for you guys to have someone come in and just do? Yeah. I know there's a little bit of bittersweet out there, but it's probably relatively inexpensive to have somebody come cut down the bittersweet, the autonomous, that kind of thing.
Yeah, some of that was already taken away when they took away all those trees in the last couple of months in the back that were going to be in the way anyway. So,
Yeah, and it's bittersweet's in the trees.
It sounds like you wouldn't have an objection to that as a condition of approval, Dave, to have someone evaluate that and remove those invasives.
Sure. Yeah.
That'd be nothing. Thank you. All right.
Good question. In regards to the building expanding, with that, is there going to be any new type of potential harmful chemicals that will be coming through that we should?
Yeah, no, whatever the existing operations are will be continued, but they have a materials management plan that containerizes all of that stuff and stores it properly in the proper containments, 110% of the volume of the vessels, things like that. So they would continue with that best management practice. So there really is no change in the operation.
Okay.
Motion to approve. So unless there's any further discussion. Like to make the motion.
Yeah, I'll move that the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Commission approves application CC 2436 as an agricultural management application. Applicant owner for the wetlands permit to remove an approximately 30-foot by 40-foot building addition in place with a new approximately 50-foot by 40-foot building addition. Portion of which is located in the upper review area at 30 Walcott Road. Based on the following findings, the project will not adversely impact the wetland soils, and the short-term impacts from the proposed development will be controlled by the installation and maintenance of the erosion and sediment control, and subject to the following conditions in the staff report.
And including
Including some invasive management as appropriate.
yes. We have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Now we have the application CC number 2437, a Hot Meadow Country Club, the applicant and owner for a wetland permit to direct the stream and install drainage at 85 Firetown Road, assessor's map E08, lot 148, lot 001, Simsbury, Connecticut. And at our last meeting, we determined it was significant and would schedule the public hearing. So I'd like to motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Rod Kleiman, General Manager of Hot Meadow Country Club. I'm going to introduce Mark, our new superintendent. Mark is going to be heading the project. He will be the one doing the explanation today. Also like to recognize Pete Sorelli, one of our board members, VP Brains, your support of the project. So thank you.
That makes sense.
Yes. So anyone have any questions regarding the project? I know it's already talked about once.
Let me just go through the slides. So again, she read its permit for the removal of accumulated sediment in the stream bottom and installation of drainage lines in an area adjacent to hole number 2, if I recall.
Yep.
This stream particularly serves as an overflow for the main pond that was renovated and dredged back in October pursuant to your wetland approval. I think I went up and looked up the number. It was Conservation Commission permit application 2333. So that was approved last October. I guess this is kind of phase 2. So fast soil to be excavated 400 cubic yards. The applicant has indicated vegetation around the stream will remain. Stream boundaries will not change. Stream depth will be restored to 1 to 2 feet. They'll use riprap. And whatever else you want to add, I think there's a number of significant soil and erosion control measures proposed, throughout the linear corridor, essentially. And then
Sure.
Yeah. Talk about the rest.
It's a narrow stream, so we'll be taking it down 1 to 2 feet, like you said. We'll haul that material off to a dump site, which I included on the map. It's further north than this map. There's another map in our app that you can clearly see the dump site. And that's the same dump site we used for the pond project. So yeah, everything will be contained with straw wattles, just to make sure nothing is leaving or entering the creek that shouldn't be.
All right, so around the dump site, they have
Yes, yeah. So not right now, but we will prep that dump site with sediment control. We use snow fence, like the silt fence. So, yeah, so it's not a very large dump site. We put a ton of material from the pond in there, so this will be really easy.
So there is control around that area now.
Yes, yes. It's also settled since the project because that was last winter, so it's no erosion issues in that dump. But yeah, so the drainage outlets are pictured in green, the green circles. So there's 2 drain lines that will be constructed on number 2 fairway, and those outlet points will exit into that stream and exit the property at the south side there in the map, kind of where the residential apartments are there.
And then the disturbed area is going to be reseeded.
Yeah, so we'll let the native vegetation come back and we'll seed anything significant. We're really just going to be digging out the pond. We'll straddle the pond with an excavator. We'll straddle the stream with an excavator, dig that out, put it in a trailer, move that off to the dump, just continue north to south. And any damage that we do getting in there, coming out, we'll either sod or seed.
With a conservation seed mix?
Yeah, sure. No problem.
That would be good around the stream bank.
No problem.
But yeah, and the wider you can have as a conservation, as an unknown section next to the stream, the better it is for the stream. Water quality, the plants will pull out more than grass does. Grass has very short roots, and the other ones, roots and more mass, so they'll pull out more of the nutrients.
Okay.
And that would be.
Yeah, and that's the same kind of strategy we do with the pond, just for best practices for pesticides. That way, there's a clear buffer between areas that we're not spraying and areas that we are.
Wider, better.
Exactly.
Couple of feet.
Yeah, it's not a very wide stream like where the water actually is. It's hard to even call that a stream, but the area surrounding it is entirely native.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so it's very protected.
And I think at the last meeting, the intention is as you basically dig it out is to put the riprap in right away. So if you get a storm or anything, you have a lot of watch.
Yeah, and then any, like I said, any damage that we do entering that area with the excavator, we'll be sure to use netting to, hold the edge. And then as soon as they're by, the riprap will be in. It'll just be like an assembly line, dig, install riprap, fix the mess we make and keep moving down.
So in one of the additions to the application, there was showing the strong walls, and then there was netting or stabilizing material. Will that be like the rolled out matting? Will you be using that, or
for the straw wattles, or do you mean for the netting?
The netting.
The netting will only be used in areas where there's already erosion present. Like we're not going to net that entire stretch.
It just was confusing.
Yeah,
there was a picture of that.
Sure.
Far more extensive than what you're describing.
Gotcha.
And the netting, will it be I know sometimes they have the plastic netting, which is miserable. Will it be a cotton netting or something that'll break down?
We can do that. Yeah, we can do that.
That way the snakes don't get caught in it.
Sure. Yeah, it makes sense to me.
Yeah, if it'll break down, you don't even have to worry about it.
Exactly. You don't have to,
Commissioners, have any other questions?
How long do you think the project will take overall?
Depending on weather, I think in a perfect world, it'll take us a couple weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I'm kind of looking at like 2 separate projects. Like this stream work, I think is about a 2-week job. And then the drainage there's 2 locations on the fairway. So that's probably every bit of 2 weeks. And they'll be performed at separate times depending on the weather. So the drainage on 2 fairway, after talking to the contractor, I think that will take place around May, depending on, I can't get a deposit put down until we're approved in here. So the longer I'm waiting, the further back on their list we become. So I think around May, the fairway drainage will happen. And this could happen this winter when we're under frost. It'd be the best way to enter without really ripping anything up. So I think that's the plan, January, February for the actual stream work. So good. So
2 sets of 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
Questions? Entertain a motion?
It is a public hearing, man. Public hearing. It's a public hearing. Yeah, that's.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Sorry, public hearing, sorry, public hearing. Also, if you'd like to come up and, and state your name.
Sure. Watch your step.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Steve Root, living 4 Maple Court, part of the private Maple Court Association that abuts the downstream sort of area of this, and really just have some questions and just wondering what, if any, of the downstream effects there'll be from sort of dredging this thing. We've watched, actually, it's been an interesting sort of month or two watching the drainage of the pond behind Millwright, which I know is downstream from where you're dredging, and watching a couple of couples sort of come in, not Titleist, I didn't pick them up, so I've left them here. But that area is actually pretty special to us, sort of behind it, and we've been noticing it really starting to clog up a lot in this last year or so. We're really in the area right before it goes underneath West Street. There's a pretty active beaver dam there at this point in time, which I know affects some of it, but we've also been watching a lot of debris sort of get clogged in the underpass, under the highway. So I don't know if there's going to be any downstream effects from doing the dredging, and maybe even some potential benefit from the stronger flow coming through. I don't know.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Can I answer from right here?
I think.
I would suggest getting the comment and then the applicants come back and address them one at a time if
Yes,
more than.
yes.
Yeah, sure.
Are there additional comments from the public? Okay, thanks.
Yeah, good question. Yeah, so there shouldn't be any downstream effects. We're going to start on the, so if you look at the map, there's a larger pond on the top of the picture there, start point. Anyway, yeah. So the water really isn't flowing. It's actually a stagnant stream, and it's very stagnant right until you get past the end point on the lower section of the map. So if you dropped something that floats into that stream, it won't make it down to you right now. So the hope is we'll be moving water from the start point to the end point, and we're going to secure anything that could possibly move with riprap, and it would never make it out. Like no soil would even ever make it out because the flow is not all that much, even after a heavy rain event. Like we've gotten 2 or 3 inch rains while I've only worked at the course for a year, but I'm always watching the way water is moving, trying to learn, how my drainage is. And it's so stagnant. And that's part of the reason we're doing this project, to just try to get the water to move through. And I think if anything, it will.
That was my assumption, it would be less stagnant.
So I think the comments are supposed to be directed to us. It's not just theoretically. Yeah.
Great. So satisfactory.
Well,
We have,
don't you finish.
no, you go.
So my understanding was that this particular stream isn't the main water. It's as part of another stream that's like the main water course, or is this water actually part of the main another? I always thought that this had very little water in it, but it connected into the main streams. But is that the correct assumption?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it has water in it, and it's very stagnant water. It's partially due to the grading of the stream.
So you would expect that the problems that the public was just referring to is really a response to some other part of the water flow and drain that is not related to the stream.
Yeah, if you were to walk to the end point of the stream work and look toward the residential buildings, that's when the water starts moving off site.
Okay.
But if you were to walk that stream any point, it's not clogged fast at all.
Okay.
And any work that we do will be 1 foot down. It's not going to cause water to run that way faster. That's not the goal. The goal is just to get the organic material out of there, to give our drainage a place to go, so we have, 2 fairways that abut that. So, and they both pitch toward that stream. So that's the goal, is just to give the water a place to go. Not to increase the current or anything.
I just wanted to make sure that was my understanding, but I want to make sure I had the correct interpretation.
And it is the overflow from the pond. So if the pond does have, if there's more pond going into the pond, this is the way it would drain out.
And I monitor the
the inlet for the pond, so the pond's never overflowing. If anything, I try to keep it below grade so it never reaches that stream, because that's where my fairways drain to, due to the old drain lines that were put in there, probably the 1960s. So last thing I want to do is have extra water in that stream, because then that raises the level and then my fairways can't drain.
Right.
So I prefer to keep that as low as possible. Like Rob would call me and see even when numbers and say, hey, you know, the pond's getting pretty low, right? I'm like, I know it's the best management practice. I'm doing it for a reason. So that's the idea behind that.
Do we have any additional comments from the public? Any comments from the commissioners? I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for your comments. So there's no further discussion. I'd entertain a motion for this application.
Motion that we move to approve application CC number 24-37 of the Meadow Country Club applicant and owner for the wetlands permit to dredge the stream and install drainage at 85 Firetown Road, Simsbury, Connecticut 06070, zone R40, based on following findings: the short-term impacts from the proposed development and will be controlled by the installation and maintenance of erosion and sediment controls. Feasible and prudent alternatives were considered, and no action alternatives was not recommended, as the purpose of this project is to enhance the functions of the stream by removal of accumulated sediment and deepening portions of the stream. We also have this subject to the staff conditions, and
I would suggest adding the application of conservation seed mix, as well as the installation of cotton netting as a ENS control.
okay, so we would also add the subject of the cotton netting and the
Conservation seed mix.
Conservation seed.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all. All right. All commission business, none.
So I didn't have anything. I know Brittany, I think Brittany has been working on grant writing ordinance. We've all been working on it. We've had Adam look at it. We've had the building official look at it. So it's been pretty decent document as it is. It's a starting point probably for you guys.
Yeah.
So
I know I sent some comments into Brittany. Yeah. We will discuss that at the next.
Prepared to discuss it at the next meeting.
So.
I think Jan 7.
Yeah. So we'll do that at our next meeting. Does anyone have any upcoming events? I know in March usually is the month when things start getting really hot and out to the conservation groups. But January tends to be a little quiet. There's only one thing that I know is going to be coming up for the open space committee. George, you and I have gone out and looked at the site, the 24 acres on Holcomb Road. There's an interest in the land that the town purchased as open space, and it's being used as farmland off Holcomb Road on, what are we calling it, Meadowwood? What was it, the farm?
I think we're going to not call it Meadowwood.
No.
It was called Meadowwood because that was the subdivision.
That was the subdivision.
So it might be a good idea to have a different name.
We do need a different
That's
name.
not for me, but.
No, but it's hard to say, those 24 acres.
Yes.
But there were 24 acres that were set aside for town use. And they are currently being farmed. But they're Doug Beach from Hartford Audubon has come forward and has made a very, I think, reasonable suggestion that instead of having the 24 acres right on Holcomb Road, that there are some the equivalent of 24 acres, I think, in the back by County Line Road, and that is not agricultural soil. So rather than take 25 acres out of agricultural land, it might be better to swap with the other. So that's just something that, as a conservation, maybe we could do a site visit at some point and look at that. But I think that'd be something, I know open space might be looking at it, because there'll be Parks and Rec and planning and zoning and conservation, but it seems it might be something that conservation might want to look at as a swap, if it's possible to do. And I think it is, especially if we make a recommendation and open space makes a recommendation to the board of selectmen to do the swap. I think it might be feasible, but now would be the time before plans get laid. But it would improve the sight line. It would be a better use of the soil, the agricultural soil. So there are various reasons to do that. And there is
Did Brittany send everybody a copy of the study or the recommendation in the newsletter?
No, but we can do that for the next meeting.
I'm going to have to do that.
Yes, please. So this is just a heads up, something.
That's Don's document, right? Mr. Pete, what's his name?
Beach.
Yeah, Beach. But that's
Douglas Beach.
We're thinking about the same document, right?
Yes, Doug Beach.
Okay.
And I know George and Brittany have been out looking at the stuff with Doug Beach. So it would be good for us to take a look at it.
A lot of moving parts to it, but
yes,
certainly.
But it's something for us to consider, and I think as a conservation commission, and given that we're not making any more farmland, it would be worthwhile taking a look at that.
Well, I'll make sure we get that sent to you.
Thank you.
Do you know when the next POCD implementation committee is?
It's going to be in January, but I haven't said it yet. I've got to do that, Charles.
I had two things. They're not events, but first one, I was reading through the charter revision suggestions. I noticed that there was a suggestion to possibly combine the Conservation Commission with one or more boards, open space. So I wanted to put that on our radar because I'm sure we have opinions on that. Also, I don't know if anyone's seen the zoning proposed changes. I don't know if we want to review those and weigh in on potential impacts.
So is there a draft of it yet? Or? Yeah, there's a draft out there. So there's a public hearing open currently. The next edition of that is the 22nd of January.
So there are 4 changes to the zoning regulations that come out of POCD recommendations for kind of advancing housing choice and housing opportunity in the community. And so there are 4 items that we're calling kind of a housing strategies toolkit that includes an inclusionary requirement, affordable homes as part of any development, a smaller lot size zone, a kind of a tweak to the accessory dwelling unit ordinance in terms of process, and then a kind of cosmetic change and a renaming of the most flexible kind of overlay floating zone, which was called the workforce housing overlay zone. So there's some changes to that. So call it the housing strategy toolkit. I'm happy to send you the latest memo and the draft changes and all that kind of stuff. Sure. Do you know the rationale for looking at combining conservation with? I do not.
And that came from the charter, right?
I think there's a number of recommendations related to combining other boards and commission as well. I think on that same document, there's a recommendation to combine planning commission and zoning commission, for instance. I think
it wasn't just
the same thing.
Yeah.
Us. I just since it was pertinent.
Did they mention who they would combine with?
Open space, I think, was listed with Conservation
Commission. I've read the document.
Yeah. So I mean,
I don't know what the justification is. I mean, I guess there's some efficiencies. Staff nights out. I mean, we cover about 80 night meetings a year. Staff's not going to oppose combining that stuff. That's for sure. But I'm sure there'll be lots of robust conversation about the charter. A lot of times
have separated their conservation commission from their inland wetland. We've already combined, and conservation tends to get rather short shrift on a lot of that.
Yes,
We've got a
great
regulatory process that we have to get through, and that's usually enough. So I hate to see it combined further because it would get even.
Jason's right. You should certainly pay attention, and when the opportunity arises, provide comment.
Yeah,
for sure.
All right, and we will keep our eye on that.
I can imagine they would go through that process, frankly, without inviting chair people or chairpersons of those committees for their opinion and their insight into that.
You never know.
Well, I really recommend that they do that.
That would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, we're already. So there's an evening, 2 evening outs. That's conservation is just once a month. Yeah. So say one staff night out. All right. Anything else? Then I think we need a motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.